Hey guys, Ollie here, Game Room Hero. Back at it again with another video, and a very special video for a very special system at that. That's right guys, it's been 1 year since the Nintendo Switch came out, and I thought it would be fun to do a quick little recount video, just talking about my experiences with the system, what it was like on launch day, how I think Nintendo's done over the last year, and most crucially, where I think it might be headed. So with that guys, let's get started. You ready? Alright, so 1 year since the launch of the Nintendo Switch. I got one day one, but man, I was not always so pumped for this thing. Obviously the Wii U didn't do super well, and while we had one in the household, it certainly wasn't my system. In fact, I actually haven't been this excited for a Nintendo system since like the GameCube. For a little backstory, I was a Nintendo kid growing up, started on the Super Nintendo, 64, and then GameCube, and it was around the time of the Wii that I lost interest. Like, when 10-year-old me saw that Nintendo was foregoing a traditional gamepad and going with the Wii remote, which turned out to be a big success, I was immediately just off the boat. That's when I jumped to Xbox and got into PlayStation and things later on. But this little guy here is the first system that's really excited me in a long time, and I wanted to talk a bit about that first. So if we roll it back a little to late 2016, there was the original announcement for the system. They showed obviously the famous rooftop scene, which basically everybody's picked apart at this point. But they also showed a snippet of Mario, Skyrim, NBA 2K was shown on the system. Like, at that point we knew very little other than that these little guys were detachable and that it could be played docked or portable. Fast forward a couple months later, and what really ended up selling me on the system was that night in January where Nintendo had their real formal unveiling of this guy to the public. That's when we saw ARMS played properly for the first time, along with the final trailer for Legend of Zelda. And that's what really convinced me to buy it day one, because even though we had a Wii U, the idea of playing a brand new Zelda game portably, as well as being able to play it at home, really excited me, as I'm sure it did for a lot of you guys. So as soon as the pre-orders were up for North America, I put mine in with Amazon, and well, that might have been a mistake, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but I was excited. So over like the next 6 weeks or so, me and my brother Alex were just eagerly anticipating our units to arrive. So fast forward to the evening of March 2nd, I believe it was, and I was still completely undecided about what color of the Switch to go with, because I didn't know if I liked these colored Joy-Cons or not. Obviously the choice is pretty clear on what I went with, but the night before, Amazon Prime Now put it up, and I ordered this as my second unit of the Switch, which turned out to be really smart, because when launch day came around, Amazon proper, I don't know if anybody in North America got their systems delivered, because it seems like everyone I've heard didn't get theirs till like next Tuesday, or at least that was the case with me. So ordering this guy and having it arrive at 8 in the morning on launch day turned out to be the best possible scenario, and I even got it faster than my brother who ordered from Best Buy. So we got our Switches, he got his with Zelda, and I was forced to run to Best Buy to pick up a second copy because that was stuck in Amazon turmoil. But day one, I remember the games I ended up playing. I downloaded Fast RMX first in the morning, which is a fantastic racing game. A lot of fun, definitely kept me going till Mario Kart, and it has that F-Zero feel to it, if not being exactly the same. But I had a good time with that for a couple hours, but around 6 o'clock when we realized that the original Switch was just not showing up that day, that's when I went down to Best Buy and bought a second copy of Zelda, and I lost about a month after that. that was a dark period for Game Room Hero where I wasn't doing too many reviews, and I recorded that whole game and it's still on my hard drive, but I was totally sucked in. I spent like probably a good 70 to 80 hours on that game, which I know isn't as much as some people, but I really enjoyed it. And the other thing I want to talk about is just kind of the community aspect of this system. So what was really interesting about it, like I've talked about how I work in a Microsoft store before, and we have a break room, and what was cool about that is a lot of my coworkers ended up getting Switches as well. So I would go to the break room every day and there'd be like 4 or 5 people playing Switches at lunch. And that was a real hit the following month when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out, because every single day was just battle mode or races on the circuits, but mostly a lot of coin rush. So that was heated. It brought me back to like my middle school days with the DS and whatnot, but wow. Like I've had a really good time with this system. Being able to detach the Joy-Cons, sit down and play a game, or pick up the Pro controller and really kick back, or take this thing to jury duty, which is exactly what I did the week after launch. So this thing's been going with me basically every trip I've taken. I took this up to San Francisco with me. I take it to my girlfriend's. Like, the Switch has been a revelation, because as much as I love graphics and love seeing the latest technology, I love my Xbox, I love my PlayStation, I love my PC, being able to take this guy on the go has been just such a revelation. And I love the Switch. It's an awesome system. Are there some flaws? Sure. I've had this thing for a year now, and for whatever reason, some plastic on my left Joy-Con has snapped and it no longer holds into place. So I'll be playing sometimes and often it'll just pop off like that. But a lot of the other errors people have reported, like the bending and that sort of stuff, I haven't seen on my own Switch. So I think Nintendo did a pretty good job with the hardware for the most part. You know, small SD card or small internal storage aside, it's a pretty cool system, and it's been a really fun one. So talking about the games that followed, obviously we had E3 that June. We saw more of Mario Odyssey, but the next big one to drop was ARMS, followed by Splatoon. My brother and I, we ended up picking up that one, had a pretty good time, but overall it's been like my least played of all the Nintendo games that have come out. And for that matter, Splatoon 2, I've played a bit more of, and I think it is a fantastic game. But I can't really get into online on Nintendo. If there's one like major flaw I can't forgive them for, it's that they can never get the infrastructure together properly. And the idea of paying for service this year just seems a little ridiculous to me when I really think about it. But I digress, we'll see how that goes. Really, the next game I ended up getting really into on the Switch, and I talked about this in my pickups video recently, I picked up Skyrim on it, which, port of the century, right? Skyrim, it's on like 6 systems now in about as many years. Interestingly with that game though, I never played that much of it in the original release. I remember I got that for the 360 around when it came out, and I put maybe like 25 or 30 hours into it, which is a lot less than I put into Oblivion, which was Bethesda's prior game. So that has been a really great one to play, because once I finished Zelda, I was just craving another RPG. And obviously that came several months later, but being able to really delve into Skyrim proper, even though it's not my favorite Elder Scrolls game, has been amazing. And like going to work or sitting in a coffee shop with headphones on, just playing this guy, it's been a transformative experience as far as gaming on the go goes. Pardon the redundancy. So it's been a cool system. If you know, looking at Nintendo and how they're doing so far, obviously the sales speak for themselves. They had a killer Christmas. Switch has outsold the Wii U in less than a year, which is wild considering how long the Wii U's been on the shelf. But most of those units sat on the shelf, obviously. Going forward, we don't really know that much about Nintendo's 2018. We know there's a new Metroid Prime coming, which I'm really excited for. I'm a big fan of that series. We know that there's a Pokemon coming for the Switch, but I feel like those projects are like 2 years out. Right now, the big ones that I can think of that we know for this year are Bayonetta, the collection, which has already come out like a week or two ago from the making of this, a couple weeks ago? Not too long ago from the making of this video. And then we know Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is coming out. We don't really know anything about Nintendo's fall lineup or anything, and I guess that's not too concerning, because they could have a killer E3 and turn it around, but it also makes me think about like E3 2008 for Nintendo, where the only game they had to show off, period, was like Animal Crossing. Or was it 09? Anyway. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. If Nintendo, like, they are killing it in the sales right now, and the good thing about like Mario Kart and Zelda is those are like evergreen titles. Like, people are gonna pick up Mario Odyssey day one. They're gonna pick up Mario Kart. That's always like a 20 million plus selling game, almost every time. So I think those are gonna do well for them, but as far as what's on the future, I'm very curious. But the Switch itself, man, it's been a cool system. I've had so many good times just playing this with like friends, family, taking this on trips, playing in hotel rooms. It's really been an amazing system, and I think the first year, well, anytime you have 2 Game of the Year nominees as exclusives on your system, you're gonna have a great year. And Nintendo had a killer year 1. Year 2 is more uncertain. If they've dropped a Mario, they've dropped a Zelda, who knows what's next? But I'm excited for it. I'm really hoping for Animal Crossing or Pokemon myself. But I think Pokemon's probably 2019 at the earliest. Anyhow, though, I love the system. It's been fantastic. Other than like my Joy-Con dying, which I guess I'm gonna have to replace with a green Joy-Con or something, because that's my favorite color. It's been a pretty cool ride so far, and I'm very excited to see what Nintendo does. Let me know down in the comments, what are your experiences with the Switch? Have you had any problems? Have you just been loving it since day one? Or did you pick it up later on? I'm excited to hear. And with that, I'm gonna close out this video. As always, guys, if you enjoyed it, go ahead and give me a like. I really appreciated it, and it does help me out. And hey, if you want some awesome reviews, some cool informal content like this, as well as lots and lots of other great stuff on the way, go ahead and hit subscribe. Keep it locked, Game Room Hero, and I'll see you in the next one.